What's up, y'all? Rich Slaton here, back with another best of 5. Today it's going to be Mohamed Light, Kicks Light of Kicks team in CRL East up against Portugal's pride, Vitor75 of Pain Gaming in CRL West. Some West versus East action. Before we kick off the best of 5, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like this video, comment with other matches that you might want to see, and of course use code RICH in the shop for all Supercell games to support me, support the channel. And if you don't use my code, use someone's code. It's super duper helpful. Today we're going to jump into our best of 5. It is going to be a dual mode battle, meaning that each player, much like Clan Wars 2, has to create individual decks that do not share cards. In the first 4 games, the decks cannot share cards at all. Once a card is used, it is out for the remaining up to 4 games. If we hit a 5th game, if we go all the way to the B05, then these players can use whatever cards they want. Let's go ahead and jump into the action here. Well, not whatever cards they want. They can use one of the 4 decks that they already used or a 5th deck with unique cards on top of that one. So that's the rules of the duel today. Let's go ahead and jump into our matchup. Game number 1 of Light versus Vitor, and Vitor going with double bait. Going to be very interesting to see how these guys build such a variety of decks. You know, do you go with something meta and then maybe find yourself in a bit of a hole later? You can build 4 meta decks with this system. It is possible. I've seen some players do it, but it's a question of how you balance them, and maybe you have to tweak one card here or there, which could throw things off a little bit. But so far, double bait from Vitor looks pretty classic here, and Light now going with Ram Rider to counter the Skeleton Barrel. Bomb Tower in response to the Ram Rider. We have not seen a small spell yet for Light, and that's the thing to keep in mind, right, is you can't put small spells in every single deck, or you could do a certain way, right? You could put Log in one deck, Zap in another, Snowball in another, Barb Barrel in another, but you'd have to spread those thin a little bit. So you can't stack the same way. Going with a triple spell deck, which is very popular these days, maybe not a great idea in this type of format. But Barb Barrel will be helpful, so we'll see. It looks like Light's game plan here against the double bait is going to be the Barb Barrel for the Goblin Barrel, which makes sense, and then for the Skeleton Barrel, a combination of taking it down early, whether it be the Inferno Dragon, the Ram Rider, or the Magic Archer, trying to help make that happen, or using the Heal Spirit to clean up skeletons. And you can see, of course, Vitor's game plan on defense, pretty simple. Bomb Tower for the Ram Rider. Try to control everything else. And you see that nice combination there from Light with the Ram Rider taking care of the Skeleton Barrel. Fireball does get value there for the Portuguese player. Kicks has been very good so far in CRL East. Last I checked, I believe they were 3rd in the region. Magic Archer may be a half step late here for the Ram Rider to get through. Decent elixir on the board right now for Light as we enter the final 30 seconds of regulation play. We'll see if Vitor can spread his opponent thin. So far, the Barb Barrels have been more than up to the task to pick up those Goblin Barrel plays. That Dark Goblin building a house on the board right now. That Dark Goblin has been on for a very, very long time. And still protecting it for the moment is Vitor. Down to a second one, while the first one's still alive, and the Knight just barely doesn't protect it. But Vitor starting to put some serious pressure on. Good fireball value, though, given to his opponent. And now we know that both players have burned fireball. We'll see how that plays out later in this match as they maybe bring out some fireball bait decks. Fireball, Log, 2 spells played for Vitor. Barb Barrel, Fireball, 2 spells played for Light. Barb Barrel goes to the outside here on defense for Light, 1589 to 1901. And some decent damage to come in on the left-hand lane, just like that. Light taking the lead back, and this is where things get a bit dicey now for Vitor. He can put the pressure on like crazy, very fast cycle. But some of these pushes might get a little bit beefy, and that's one Lumberjack hit he really did not want to give. Light playing a great game right now. Fireball in, trying to make a little bit more room for that Ram Rider to maybe sneak past the bomb tower. Not going to happen. 14-18 to 9-28. Magic Archer played off the tile, off the river a couple tiles. And this pressure is just relentless, and trying to break through right now for Vitor is just brutal. Barb Barrel has got that locked down. Now that Light can really stack these troops, the Skeleton Barrel trying to get through and do anything significant has been absolutely brutal to try to pull off here. Skeleton Barrel going to try to sneak by, but just can't do it. Ram Rider goes down. Skeletons cannot get the tower at all. 11:74, 12 seconds left. And those Goblins do get a couple of stabs here, but Fireball's not going to get in there in time, I don't believe. Can the Skeletons do some damage? No, they will not. 732 to 584. Mohamed Light kicks Light, takes game number 1 of this best of 5. GG, well played. Let's go ahead and take a look at the stats view for this one. And again, as you can see, Fireball completely off the board now, essentially a ban at this stage. Neither player will have that available. We'll see how they plan to contend with that as time goes on. We'll jump into our next one as soon as we can. So this brings up a question, right? What kind of decks do you play with these bans out, or with these cards already out of cycle? Right now, this is interesting on the side of Mohamed Light, because now he knows that his opponent, Vitor, no longer has Fireball, Bomb Tower, and Log. Right? Fireball, Bomb Tower, and Log all out. So at some point, does Light pull the trigger on a Log Bait deck of his own? Hasn't really played any pieces of Log Bait, so he might see Log Bait from Light. If not this game, maybe he'll take one more game and see what Vitor plays in Game 2 and plot a Log Bait deck in Game 3. But of course, Fireball Bait is now pretty tempting, potentially on both sides. I wonder if maybe Light goes to the deck that has Bomb Tower to control some of those Fireball cards, control some of those Royal Hogs, control some of those Barbarians. Lots of options here on both sides, but the options diminish as games go on. The real tricky part is when we get into Game 3. You essentially have 2 decks remaining at some point, right? At Game 3, you really have to look at that and go, okay, what do I have left at this stage? And am I playing Game 3 to plan for Game 4? So we'll see what they come up with when we get here in just a moment. And it is Mohamed Light up 1 on his opponent, and going wall breakers at the bridge. Goblin Cage for Vitor. And that's a good call from Vitor. Vitor goes Barb Barrel in game number 2, but keep in mind now that there could be something Log Baity coming out from Mohamed in game number 3. So this gets real tricky. Musketeer for Musketeer. And with the Musketeer now played on both sides, right? You think about the big spells that you have remaining, and you think of Lightning as a spell that's making a bit of a comeback right now in competitive play. Not a ton, but a little bit because of the popularity of Musketeer and of lightning-able cards. A weird word to say, but yes. But now that Musketeer's been played on both sides, you're looking at the big spells that you have left going into Game 4, potentially Game 5, Game 3, potentially Game 4. And Lightning is a little bit less enticing now that Muskie is out. Wall breakers to the left-hand side for Light, and Valken response. So looking like GY here for Vitor. And there you go. Graveyard push to the left-hand side, and it is Poison. So the 2 primary big spells, Fireball and Poison, will now both be unavailable as time goes on. Very, very curious. Still have arrows, still have lightning. Tornado, obviously. After this game, both players will be minus Log and minus Barb Barrel, so we might see some snowballs and zaps coming on in. Wall breakers to the left, pulled by the Goblin Cage. Poison getting decent value on that side, and it'll get value on that Heal Spirit too, I believe. The Heal Spirit should tick all the way off, and it does. One Elixir down the drain here for Vitor. Did not get ahead in time to give proper support. Miner, the safe spot for Light. And, oh no, misclicked Poison out of Light. Graveyard Poison in for Vitor. And now the Miner just trying to play defense against this Graveyard push. But just like that, Vitor is in the lead as we go into sudden death overtime, 1630 to 1379. And Vitor happy to slow things down a little bit here. Cycles Valkyrie in the back. Miner to try to pull the Valk, and it does. But a good bar barrel to stop that push at the top. So you see kind of the gamesmanship there, where it was the Miner to the back to get the Valkyrie out of the way of the push, but the bar barrel for 2 Elixir stops it pretty easily. And you can see the Elixir advantage here for Vitor. He's getting good poison value. He's going to end up being a little bit ahead here as well, as that Musketeer goes down. Ahead by 1 Elixir is the Portuguese player, maybe a half Elixir as we go into the final 80 seconds. Miner in front to tank for those wall breakers. Cage has to come down to stop the damage. 1182 to 1011. You see the Kicks team player just setting up with the bomb tower, trying to play defense against this Graveyard. Even 1 or 2 Graveyard skeleton hits would be huge, and that's a lot more than 1 or 2. Wall breakers coming in, and Vitor just barely catches them with the Cage. 626 to 872. Poison ticking away right now for Light. Miner should come in pretty fast and furious in these final moments. This Miner goes to the safe spot one more time. No variation on placement right now from the Egyptian. So a little curious here that Mohamed is not starting to move those cards around a little bit more. 174 remains on the right-hand tower of Light. Miner goes to the back. Graveyard not getting many shots. That should be it, though, and it is. 190 HP separates the two with 28 seconds left, and you gotta wonder about that poison played by Mohamed Light. How much of an impact that had when there was such a little difference overall in the elixir or in the HP at the very end. Let's go ahead and take a look at the stats view here. And no direct matchup data on this one. But as you can see, Graveyard and Poison now out for Vitor. So this, again, we talk about things getting a little interesting here and what kind of choices these players make. You look at the counters that have been played so far, right? So all tied up 1-1. Just doing a little admin in here, folks. We're all tied up 1-1 at this stage. But you take a look at what's going on the side of Vitor. His Poison now no longer available defensively. So what does that mean for us? Well, it means maybe Mohamed Light with Dart Goblin out, Bomb Tower out, Poison out, Valkyrie out. Is this a good opportunity for Mohamed Light to switch things up a little bit, Kicks team's Egyptian player, and go Graveyard? Right? You take a look at the overall. This is where things start getting fun, right? You start with the prognostication. Also, over on the other side of it, Vitor's got to be looking at the decks that Light has played already. Bomb Tower out, Fireball out, Log out. Is this a good time for some sort of Fireball bait deck? So, you could see some sort of, I don't know. There's no Poison and no Fireball. You could see even Lava Clone with, or Lava Barbs, Lava Miner Barbs with no big spell maybe. Lava Miner Barbs, Arrow Zap would actually be a great call here from Vitor. Have some options to play defense against the Graveyard with the Barbs, of course, Arrow Zap to clean things up. If that is in case where Light's going. So that's an interesting one. Vitor, top of your screen, Light at the bottom. And again, you can see all the cards that have already been played. Quite a lot. things will get very thin. So we're guaranteed to go to a Game 4, which means there's going to be a lot of information that both players have when we get into game number 5, or game number 4. And it looks like Vitor might be going Royal Hogs. That's my guess, with Bomb Tower and Fireball both out. Could he be doing something else? Absolutely no. Going bridge spam here. Interesting. And looks like RG for light. I could be wrong here. The Dark Prince does make things a little bit challenging, but different. He could be going Graveyard as well with the E-Wiz. But the Fisherman make it kind of strange. And a little attempt at a prediction zap out of Vitor, but nothing there. He did know that Light hadn't played Skeletons in a deck yet, so maybe he was trying to predict Skeletons in that pocket spot. Didn't need it. Still gets on tower. Dark Prince cycled in both directions. Dark Prince used to be a little more popular in bridge spam decks, not so much. Dark Prince is more popular in general, and just a little bit less popular in 2020 than it was throughout the 2019 competitive seasons. And it's P.E.K.K.A. for light. Interesting. And of course, Battle Ram goes the opposite lane into an E-Wiz, but P.E.K.K.A. cycle to the left, Battle Ram to the right, not a bad call here. Should get a little bit of damage, maybe not as much as he would have liked out of it for Vitor, and that's a healthy Mama P.E.K.K.A. for the Egyptian crossing the bridge on the left-hand lane. Dark Prince in response, and a good zap, good control, so it's P.E.K.K.A. Ram Rider for Light, who already played Ram Rider. So that's going to be a problem. Oh well. Interesting. Gonna have to go and address that one in between games because that was an error on Mohamed Light's part. That's unfortunate. I hope as it wasn't a copy deck glitch. It's possible it was the copy deck glitch, but what an unfortunate error. It's kind of why you build your 4 decks beforehand, right? But I'm gonna have to go in and inform him in between games that that's a game loss. Man, this was gonna be a good one here. And that really should have been a Battle Ram. I'm wondering if that was meant to be a Battle Ram and ended up being a Ram Rider instead. Well, let's see if Vitor wins it outright without it needing to be a disqualification for the game. And a little bit of damage on the bottom right-hand side. It would be nice. It looks like the players, aren't acknowledging that it was an error there. So we're going to play this one out, and maybe, just maybe, Vitor makes it so that gets the win clean. Final minute here. 16:45 in the right-hand lane for Light. Vitor hold on to 13:20 on the left-hand side. And that's a big Ram Rider push in. Mama P.E.K.K.A. though, is she going to stop it? And she does. So healthy counter push going to come in now from Vitor. And look at that, going to go Battle Ram, E-Wiz, Bandit to the left-hand lane. A lot of pressure on the left-hand side. Switching lanes here. Can't seem to break through, though. It was the right idea, and maybe spending a little bit less there so he could push the opposite direction could have been the move. Fish Boy gets picked up by the Mama P.E.K.K.A. And look at that. There's some geometry out of Vitor. That Magic Archer Bandit dashes. There you go. No need for a DQ on the game. No need at all. Vitor takes game number 3, even with the error on the part of Light. Let's go ahead and show you the stats from that one. And give me a moment here, folks, as I handle the admin issue. So a quick break there. I handled the business. Little mistake from Mohamed, but no big issues. And now we go on to game number 4. And it's unlikely that Mohamed would play a Battle Ram at this stage, which probably would have been the card you would see in that position. But now we go into game 4, and you see that Light did go with the Lightning. So that's... You talk about what spells are left. Not super surprised to see the Lightning get mixed in, although with the Musketeer having already been played, you see why maybe that wouldn't have happened. But now we go into game number 4, and again, none of the cards that have been played so far can be played at this stage. So, if you look at the side of the Egyptian player, Light, no Poison, no Fireball, no Lightning, no Log, no Barb Barrel, no Snowball, talking about spells. If you look on the side of Vitor, Fireball, Log, Poison, Barb Barrel, and Zap all out. Tornado is still okay for him, for both players. Arrow's still okay for both players. But certainly a limited chunk of cards to choose from at this stage. This is where Game 4 gets real squirrely. Very, very squirrely indeed. Although, keep in mind, a lot of buildings are still available on both sides for control. So we'll see. We haven't seen a lot of beatdown yet, but a lot of buildings still in the mix. I'd be surprised to see either one go Golem. Lava, though, certainly possible. Let's go ahead and update that score here. Vitor is up 1. Two 2-0 lead for Vitor. Very curious to see what Light pulls out at this stage. I did remind both players to be careful about not repeating cards. And we're just playing the dance here, the waiting game. Even the app is sitting here saying, hey, let's wait for a little bit with the disconnection icon. We'll take our moments here, and this makes it feel more and more like one of these two players is playing Lava. Oh, it looks like my app was way behind. Vitor could be playing Graveyard. Wow. So I guess they weren't waiting that long. It just took a minute for my iPad to catch up. And it is Lava for Light, so this makes sense. And Graveyard being out, it makes sense that Tombstone is in. Right? Barb's definitely a better counter for Graveyard, but a little faster cycle with the Tombstone. So looking like Vitor seeing the writing on the wall. No Log, no Spear Goblins, no Poison, no Barb Barrel. So small spells for dealing with Poison aren't great, and it is full-on Lava Loon here for Light. Balloon minions push to the right-hand lane. Hey guys, quick interruption here. You may have noticed that Vitor played the Goblin Cage. Well, you already saw that Mohamed made the same mistake early on. I caught it then. Didn't catch it this time because there were some technical things happening and I didn't exactly realize it. I didn't realize it until afterwards while I was editing this video. So I've reached out to Mohamed and to Vitor. We'll figure out a solution to it. But just so you know, we're playing this out, and no one catches that he played the Goblin Cage. We'll get a better system for this next time, but just wanted to make sure you understood that I caught it. And let's get back to the game. And that's controlled easily by the Portuguese player. And it's Minor Loon for Vitor, going with the Giant Skeleton version. And that's going to be a big-time balloon connection for the Portuguese player, Vitor. Bringing the pain against Light here, 489 on the left-hand side. And Light chooses to go opposite lane, just going to sack tower and try to go in hard in the right-hand side with 23 seconds left. But Ice Wiz, NATO, Goblin Cage, Snowball. It's going to be very, very hard for that to be a tower trade situation. So maybe not a full-on trade here yet. That's a nice NATO out of Vitor, 297. Keep in mind, not much in the way of direct damage spells for the Portuguese player. And not many ways for Light to stop this. Will the Mega Minion get there in time? And it does just barely. And that's going to be a GG, well played, Vitor with a big win in 4 games. Great deck choice there in game number 4. Let's go ahead and take a look at the matchup data from Royale API in just a moment. And there you go, taking a look at the actual matchup between these two. Lava Loon with Tombstone for Light. And interesting, it looked a lot like a Graveyard deck for Vitor, but going Minor Loon instead. Remember that Vitor had played Graveyard already. So here I am talking about Vitor this entire time, and remember about Graveyard, and of course Vitor had already played Graveyard. So silly me in that case. Going with Minor Loon, Giant Skeleton. The Ice Wiz NATO giving a lot of control here, and that was a great combination. Ice Wiz NATO, Snowball, Goblin Cage to control those Lava Loon pushes. Able to get enough damage on over and over again. And with only 2 real ways on the ground to deal with the Giant Skeleton, had to spend a lot of effort to control it. And with Vitor putting the pressure on, Minor Loon gets in, gets the win. GG, well played. And that's it for today's BO5, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun for me. It's interesting trying to experiment with this dual mode format, right? The information you get. I'm going to get some pros to come on and co-cast a bit, and we can talk a bit more about what we think, where we think the decks might go as time goes on. My brain totally shorted out thinking about Vitor running Poison, or running Graveyard when he'd already run Graveyard, right? So you saw Mohamed Light make a mistake with the deck. You saw me kind of a little off, forgetting that Graveyard had been played. It was right there on the screen. But that's a little bit confusing. It's a totally different thing for Clash Royale. It's very interesting in Clan Wars 2 with the best of 3, but of course we know BO5 is the more competitive format. So maybe we'll try doing like 3 BO3s as each set is a BO3 duel on its own. We could try that out. Might be an interesting way to go. So we'll experiment with it a little bit, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know I enjoyed it a bunch. Of course, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, so you always are here every time I bring you some fun, experimental, new competitive mode in Clash Royale. Congratulations to Vitor on a great performance. Thank you very much for Mohamed Light for coming and being a part of it, and good luck to both Pain and Kicks in their CRL runs this season. Guys, I'm Rich Slaton. That's it. I'll see you next time.